welcome back to the Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity. We're talking with intuitive and channel Jana Hexter about her experience walking the Camino from France to Spain, 500 miles. Wow, yeah. 500 miles. I mean, I do a hike. I go hiking, and I do 7, 8, maybe 9 miles in a day. But 500 miles, how long is that supposed to take? I mean, I know there are certain things. How long are you supposed to take doing the Camino?
Well, there's a guide with actually very old stages in it, and it's meant to be from 33 days roughly. Some people do it in 31, some people do it in 6 weeks. Okay. But if you do it in around that early 30 mark, it's about 15 miles a day, which is a half marathon a day for 30 days. And that's what makes it incredibly challenging. It's not, 15 miles is a stretch, but then if you can rest for a few days, it's just that you do it day after day after day.
Yeah. So it's physically very challenging.
Incredibly challenging, yeah.
Okay. So we're going to get into that in a minute. First, I want to know, why did you decide to do this in the first place? And you're not the first person I've met. I've met other people who have also done it, but I'm always curious, what motivates somebody to actually do this, to take a month out of your life and walk this long path?
Well, it was one of those happenstance things. So a friend of mine that I met on retreat, Sharon DeLandis, who's in Australia and may well watch this, she wonderful. Did the Camino with her husband, and she posted pictures on Facebook. And so I would see it in my feed a lot, these beautiful photographs. And then about a week later, I went to my acupuncturist, and she told me that her 18-year-old son was going to do it with her 80-year-old father. Wow. And I was just like, that's that thing my friend Sharon just did. And a few days after that, I made a phone call to a client that I hadn't spoken to in about a year, and I just called to see how she was doing. And she said, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe you just called, because I just got back from walking the Camino."
Wow.
And I just laughed, and I was like, I don't believe I should. And my third person to mention this, and she just squealed, and she's like, "I'm your third." And I was like, what does that mean? And she said, "Well, they say the third person is the one that inspires you to do it." So she said, "Are you going to do it?" And just something in me just said yes. And so I walked downstairs, and my daughter was about to go off to school, and
how old is your daughter now?
She's 17.
17,
She's in boarding school. And so I just walked downstairs and said, "Hey, do you want to go walk 500 miles across Spain with me?" and she said, "Sure." And I think, given normal life, I would have probably kind of let it go by the wayside. But I'm really grateful. I had some people around me who just kept saying, "When are you going? How are you going to do it?" And so it really just made me step into it. And I'm really glad I did. But it is one of those things in life, it takes some stepping into, for the time away from life, and all the expense that comes with it, it takes something to do that. And I think we don't easily do that without people around us.
Yes,
just keep listening for it.
Absolutely. Now, as you were walking, and I mean, this is a popular pilgrimage, were there a crowd of people around you? Was there a couple of dozen? Was there 2 or 3? I mean, how many people do you walk with? Well,
it depends. Some parts of the journey, there would just be lines of people in front. You'd probably see 10 people on the path in front of you, and people behind. And then some parts of it, there were hours where we didn't see anyone, or
really?
There was half days where Catherine and I were like, "Wow, we just haven't seen anyone today." And so it just depends. And usually, going up the hills, you would see more people, because I guess people slow down. But almost everybody that we met, there's only one person that I found disagreeable. Everyone's so friendly and fun, and it was a fun camaraderie,
And there were all these towns along the way, so then you stop in the towns, and that's where you sleep at night, I guess?
Yes, so it's actually amazing. The infrastructure on it is incredible. They have, it's a 500-mile walk. A lot of it is along beautiful pathways that have been groomed. And then also the towns along the way, they have cafes with really inexpensive food and drink. And then there's a series series of hostels. They're called albergues, where you can stay for the night for €5 or €10, so $5 or $10 basically a night. And first come, first served. And so there's a big, and it's, and I think, and also some of them are donation based, that you can stay there and you just make a donation. So there's a big infrastructure to support people. And one of my favorite things is that the people along the way, they will just say to you, "Buen Camino," which means kind of good walk and good. There isn't really, I suppose, a good translation for Camino, but it's something like a way or a walk or a journey or something like that. And so you'd be walking and they'd say Buen Camino, and they'd say it all the way along, and we even have like little toddlers in strollers like Buen Camino.
Wow. Oh my God.
And so it opens your heart, as you're just greeted as you go along. And supposedly it's an ancient thing of blessing the pilgrims as you would bless Jesus, that. And I really felt that of just people cared for us, they would, sometimes people would give us things, people would leave, raspberries or food or out on their doorstep for people to take. And it was just a very generous culture that I absolutely loved. So.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. So given that you're a fairly sensitive person, did you, we'll do it a stage at a time, but when you were just first starting off, the first couple of days, was there something sort of energetically that you felt that you were surprised by or unprepared for or even, prepared for, but, was there something that you kind of felt that was like, oh, there is something special here?
No. And I'll tell you why. I expected that because I'm very sensitive, and I expected, kind of this spiritual pilgrimage and, meeting all these wonderful people, which I did.
Right.
But the reality of it was it is so physically intense that at least the first half of the journey was just, pain in your feet, pain in your legs, exhaustion, heat, all of the things that you deal with. And for me, there were some moments definitely of connection with spirit, but it was an embodied experience, and it connected me very deeply with the beauty of nature and the earth. And so it was what I was so present to from the very first day actually was just the incredible beauty. The first day you walk up into the Pyrenees, and it was hot and just stunning views. And the pathway for most of the 500 miles, the pathway has flowers alongside, and it was just and I took loads of pictures of the flowers, and it's almost, I don't know if it was done purposefully, whether they've planted seeds along, if they're just wild flowers that maybe as they've worked on the path they've seeded themselves, but it was just incredibly beautiful, and there's no way to walk it and not be struck by how gorgeous the earth is, that is free, that it's, you can just walk along and just be blessed by beautiful views. And there was one time when there was a butterfly that would fly in front, and as soon as I approached, it would fly further, and I was really tired, and I just kept thinking, oh my gosh, just keep me going, and and this butterfly just flew further, and it was just such a great game and inspiration to feel supported or to play that game.
Right. And how was I'm just curious, with a 17-year-old, how was your daughter throughout this walking the Camino? Was she like pretty up for it? Was she complaining a lot?
No, I complained more than she did. No, she's an athlete, which really helps. So she was one of the people that we knew who didn't have any physical problems. She was just a very strong. She's also just an old, wise, beautiful soul. So she kept me going a few times. The thing that was hardest for her was the food, because it's Spanish food tends to be a little monotonous, and it's just ham and cheese and multiple variants for 30 days was a little too much for her. But yeah, she was it was a true gift. So.
Okay, good. I guess it's a good thing you're not a vegetarian. That would make it even
yeah,
tougher.
it's actually tough for and we met someone on the path who was a vegan, which I don't know how she managed that. But
yeah, I bet. So, about at what point in the beginning was it just like after the first day, like physically you were like, oh my God, I don't know if I can make it, or did it take like a couple of days until you finally said, oh, this is like really wearing me out?
No, I think the first. Probably the first half of it. It was just, and I actually got injured about 10 days in.
Wow.
But it was, I think it was just grueling on the body, to carry a backpack and to walk, and I think for many people, it forced you to face yourself to be confronted by what it is to do something that is challenging and difficult and painful and joyous and beautiful and rewarding. And it's so beautiful about that quote about the journey in the end.
Yes.
I'll tell you my breaking point, and just let me know when you want to hear that.
Yeah, okay.
It fits perfectly with that quote.
Yeah. Were there any like special synchronicities or surprises that happened in the beginning that were like really nice?
All the time.
The time.
So they have a saying that the Camino provides, and so it would be things like we'd be walking along, and Catherine would go, "Gosh, we've done so much downhill. I could just do with an uphill, not like a really big uphill, but like a little uphill right now." And then we'd turn the corner, and that would be this perfect little uphill, or just be walking along. It's like, I could do with an ice cream, like a really good ice cream. And same next village, there'd be a great ice cream. And then the other thing is, because you're carrying all your stuff, often I would forget several things. So we forgot a phone charger, and I left my water bottle at one point at a rest area, and we were in the desert at the time.
Oh.
And I got to the hostel, realized, and I just turned to the guy at the hostel. It's like, has anybody left a water bottle? And he said, yeah, there's this one. And it was this really nice, like, Swedish water bottle. Still had the price tag on it, So, and so there's just this sense of, when you realize you've left something, it's like, oh, that's okay, because there must be somebody who's left theirs who's going to pick mine up. And then when you get somewhere and realize, there's like, oh, I'll take that water bottle, and I still have it, and just really appreciate whoever left it for me, that I could use the water bottle. And so there's this really beautiful sense of, you don't need to panic, It's just like, yeah, I forgot something, but the Camino is going to provide. And then bringing that back into everyday life, like if it's true on the Camino, bringing it back into, it's okay, life provides. And we can know that intuitively, but when it's on the Camino, it's boiled down to its simplicity, and it comes down to water bottles, phone chargers, hat.
Right, hat.
Those things that we
water,
forget.
ice cream, the important things in life.
Yeah.
It almost sounds, I have not yet been to Burning Man. I know it's like going to happen soon, but it sounds very similar to Burning Man, where I've heard these stories of people that are in the middle of the desert. You have stuff, but you don't necessarily have everything, and it's like, oh, I could really use X right now, and then someone shows up and hands it to you. So it's a very similar kind of experience that I guess when we live in trust, that we really are taken care of by life, aren't we? Yeah,
and in community, like one time I needed scissors, and I hadn't bought scissors, and I just walked down and go to the table and say, hey, anyone got scissors? Like, yeah, sure, here you go. And people share because they know, and that it's how we survive and live together.
Okay, beautiful. All right, let's take a quick break, and when we come back, let's talk a little bit more about intention. Okay. And how important intention was on this journey. So everybody, please stay tuned. You're listening to the Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, with my guest, Jana Hexter, talking all about walking on the Camino. We'll be right back.